got some college students here. Another one of our interns, what are you, a sophomore,
Rising
junior?
Sophomore, yes.
So, rising sophomore at Christendom College out in Front Royal, Virginia. All these great, what we hear from people is more information, but also connecting people, college students, to each other for solidarity. So go to phyllisschlafly.com and find out more there, and sign up for our emails and all. Our next guest is Burgess Owens. Before he was a big shot. No, wait a second. Way back, he was a big shot. He won a Super Bowl. That was the thing you used to have. There it is, the Super Bowl ring, and beat the Jets with the Oakland Raiders. And years ago, when you came around before you were in Congress, you had signed a bunch of your picture of I guess you were knocking down a pass or picking off a pass. Which was it?
Attempting to catch one.
And in the Super Bowl, and signed a bunch of them, and the young people love that. But so you won a Super Bowl, ran for Congress, and won for Congress, representing Utah's 4th district.
Yeah.
So, which is harder? Being in the NFL or being in Congress?
Well, I'll tell you, the one that's most important is being in Congress.
Really?
And I'll say this too, and I'll say this to all those that are watching. You know, we have a chance to serve, and particularly during these times when our country's not trying, but coming back from the brink. And I think we're all going to look back on this time and realize this is the greatest time to have been around. So this is no question.
You 7 kids? How many kids?
6 kids.
6 kids. Super Bowl ring. 16 grandchildren. I think I remember that you started a couple of businesses and had one maybe fail and then restarted, ran for Congress and won. But have you ever seen a time like this in our history? The media and the culture trying to divide us?
Well, I tell you, I think this is a combination of what's been happening for decades. It's been a slow progress to get to where we are. I think the upside, we're going to look back and look at those last 2 years of COVID and recognize the curtains will pull back. American people have a chance now to start talking to each other about issues that are very important to all of us. And this is no question probably the most important time in our history, in our recent history, because we're pulling our country back from the abyss. And we're doing it because we, the people, are talking again. We're sharing this misery together. And because we're now talking about whether it's inflation or crime, whatever it might be, and we're realizing that we need to really come together and make some good choices now.
I mean, I have, according to the experts, I have all the privilege, right? White male of a certain background, so I'm not supposed to be able to ask or say, but when you see the 1619 Project and CRT, you experienced discrimination.
Yep.
But do you recognize that, or do you recognize some instinct in that is trying to be honorable, but doing it wrong, or is it or is it evil?
No, it's pure evil. CRT. It was actually, if you think about Karl Marx, the founder of Marxism, communism. His whole thing was the first battlegrounds rewriting of history. Why is it important for Marxist socialists to steal our history? And that's what it is. It's theft. It's stealing our history, because they recognize within our history we find pride in our past, appreciation for where we are today, and a vision for our future. That's always been who we are, by the way. We have always been a very optimistic country, a very forward-leaning people. We've been that people that we started off saying becoming more perfect union, because we knew that we were not perfect. We're always getting better. So we have to just keep in mind, at the end of the day, are we optimistic, hopeful, or are we less? Anything that takes away that is evil. And that's what CRT is. That's what the hard left is. It's nothing about that ideology that is pro-American.
Are you allowed to let a college student wear the Super Bowl ring?
Absolutely.
Is that allowed? Because that's what I think Mark really wants. Now, you got a good question, or are you gonna?
Yeah. So
all right, here we
so
go.
I was wondering is racial topics are very divisive. And a common tactic that the left will use, whether it be race or gender, is, you're a white male, you can't have an opinion on that. So what would your response be to someone like myself, a white male?
Well, whoever would say that is a racist, and that's what we have to recognize. We have to get to the point, and I've been saying this for years, we need to know our history, see how far we've come, how much we've accomplished. And for white Americans, we need to stop apologizing for who we are, the great things we've accomplished. For black Americans, we need to stop asking for things we haven't earned, and to think that because we're not where we might want to be personally, that is somebody else's fault. This country has been based on meritocracy. It's been based on our Judeo-Christian values, which means we, every single generation, get better looking at each other from inside out versus outside in. We've done it. I've seen it throughout my history of growing up in Deep South to where we are today, and that's why history is so important. If we know our history, see how far we've come, that we've had great people who were not perfect, but have given us this opportunity to continue this process, then we have nothing but be proud of who we are. So just know that those who want to divide us is a reason for that. The most powerful 3 words are "we the people," because it means unity. And after that, the most powerful 9 words is "if I can do it, you can do it." Because we all go through struggles, and if we can tell each other that you can make it through this, gives us more hope and moves us forward a little bit.
Congressman Burgess Owens, at Rep. Burgess Owens on Twitter, owens.house.gov. Also, I'll come back to this, but he's an author. He's author of a number of books. The latest one is "Why I Stand: From Freedom to the Killing Fields of Socialism." But university life. Yeah. When you were a kid, you played football at the University of Miami. Now, for the record, before they were really winning.
Way before.
Way before. They weren't winning back then. Yeah. They became the U or whatever the symbol is afterwards. But you can ride that coat. You got a Super Bowl ring. You got the Super Bowl ring, so it's okay. But university life has changed dramatically. The combination of social media, yeah. The combination of alcohol, drug abuse, the whole everything about it. How do you talk to college kids about finding your way? And you know, you got, again, 6 kids, yeah. And all these grandkids and experience.
Well, by being honest and being courageous about who we are, not apologizing. Again, I look at the time I grew up was one of the biggest blessings. I grew up in the Deep South, days of KKK, Jim Crow, and segregation, in a remarkably successful community and family. Because in those days, every community, no matter if it was black, Jewish, Italian, we had a few things in common. First of all, we loved our country. Our dads had just come back from World War II, so we had that in common. And we believed that we can earn the respect of our fellow Americans by winning, through meritocracy. So the 4 tenets that I was raised with, and that we have to get back to start teaching, particularly our kids, and those tenets are faith, family, the free market, and education. Anyone that comes to this country, I don't care how they get here, what language they speak, how poor or rich they are, it literally within one generation being middle class if you focus on faith, family, free market, and education. What's happened over the years is that's been stolen away from us by the hard left. They're like little termites. They get into our institutions and they turn everything upside down and they destroy our kids' faith in particular. So right now, one of the things I'm excited about, I am on the Education and Labor Committee, which will soon be Education and Workforce once we get it back in power. I'm the ranking member for pre-K through 12.
Wow.
So we have a chance right now to start looking at those ways that the left has been attacking our kids. This has been over generations, this is over, decades, where they come in excited, just excited about the dream, and they leave not only in debt, where a degree means nothing, but also hating our country. And we need to stop funding any education system that does not give our kids a chance to go out and compete. And that's what we're going to start dealing with.
Don't you think, can we say this, the greatest systemic racism in this country is the teachers' unions?
Yeah, absolutely.
The teachers' unions that trap lots of kids, mostly just poor kids, but they happen to be black.
Look at what the teachers' union has done to black people, black youth. In 2017, state of California, a report came out that 75% of black boys in the state of California cannot pass standard reading and writing tests. You go to Baltimore, you have a whole city in which there's zero proficiency in math. The left has been attacking my race for decades. And this is why I'm so excited about being able not only to understand where we've come from, but it's not hypothetical what we can accomplish if we're given the right tools. So just to make this one point, yeah. It's something a lot of Americans don't know because they don't know our history. The 40s, 50s, and 60s, 1940s, 50s, and 60s, it was a black community because those 4 tenets that led our country to growth of the middle class, men matriculated from college, men committed to marriage. Over 70% of black men married the mothers of their children, and they were committed to them. And percentage of entrepreneurs, we had over 40% of black Americans were business owners, which equated to 50 to 60% of black Americans throughout our country were middle class. Because the money stayed within the community, the leadership right. Stayed there. Before we started getting into this integration and pushing our influence out. If we understand that that's what can happen during the worst of racism, what can we do when racism is such a small part of our society? And we're always going to have it, by the way.
Yeah.
And the worst racism are those I call elitists. Those who look down their nose at everybody else, and by the way, it's black and white. Uh-huh. The worst thing to happen in the black community was not white supremacists, it was black elitists. Huh. Those who looked down on us, they put together policies that made sure that they kept the power, the profit, and meanwhile they kept us poor, hopeless, and a lot of people hapless at this point. They have no idea how to get up and take care of themselves.
Boy, that's exciting that you talk. I was going to ask you if the Republicans take the majority in the House, what's on your wish list of things to do? And now I know, I think where you're going to go.
Education is it. My dad was an educator for 40 years. I do believe, and it was Thomas Jefferson said, ignorant and free can never be. The more we're educated, the more we have critical thinking skills. A couple things happen. We can be on two separate sides of the aisle in terms of the way we think, but if we're educated, we feel comfortable and confident about our way of thinking, we give each other space. We can literally say, let's agree to disagree, because we feel comfortable. If we're nice, we work out a little strategy, we can bring that person over to our side. When you don't feel that way, you feel you have nothing to say, you get frustrated, you pick up a stick and hit somebody.
Yeah.
So you talk about Antifa and Black Lives Matter, that's what they do. They pick up a stick and hit somebody because they cannot have the critical thinking skills have been.
I thought Oakland Raiders hit everybody over the head. That was
That's
what
true.
I thought.
I
That was
forgot about
Oakland
the Raiders.
Raiders. I mean, I don't know.
Old school.
Old school.
Raiders.
Yeah, now old school Raiders. But I want one last line for college students. A lot of things going on, but the pro-life movement. Look at your Twitter feed, look at your writings. You're obviously a man of faith, and that informs your opinion and your positions on abortion.
Absolutely.
But young people have a chance, I think, to be, as people call them, the pro-life generation, because they see the science.
Yeah.
They're like, wait a second, don't tell me it's a clump of cells. I can see it, heartbeat going. How do you think this next period with Roe v. Wade being reversed and all is going to be an opening for winning the hearts and minds?
I have never been more excited about our country than I am today.
Wow.
There's a couple things. First of all, we as a people waking up. The curtain's been pulled back over the last 2 years. We recognize how close we came to losing our freedom. Can't go to church, can't go open a business, can't put our kids in school without them being indoctrinated. And we have young people that not only are now being part of this, they're taking some time to think through, should I go to this college and spend 6 years to get indoctrinated and come out with all this debt, or can I do something else? Maybe there's a trade school I can go to. So there's a new thinking in that process. The other thing is the fact that we're alive today, 50 years after Roe versus Wade, and we're here at a moment where it's about to change, where everything's going to go back to the state. We can now talk about the power of the state versus the federal government. These are conversations we have just not had in I don't know, forever.
Yeah.
And we're now having them in a way that's very helpful. I think young people that are curious, they're going to want to understand it. And one thing about youth, once they get it, there's going to be such an excitement and such a boldness that this generation is going to see. Now, in the past, that boldness has been on the other side, very much rebellious. I think right now we're going to have this new turn of young people. I see it in the black community, by the way.
Yeah.
That's very patriotic. They believe in who they are, and they see that they're not by themselves. They look around and see other young people like themselves.
Last question about this select committee, the January 6th committee. You're watching it. No one's really participating from your side of the aisle because the two that are on there aren't. It's got to make you crazy, does it?
It's a farce, but here's the thing. It's also showing the people where the priority for the Democratic Party is. As we deal with milk or baby formula, we deal with all the issues, inflation, the savings are leaving and dropping like crazy, crime. Everything that right now that deals with our lifestyle is the last thing that the Democrats care about, because they never have. And I'll be honest with you, I think when I see some of these policies that double down, know that a lot of it is on purpose. With the hard left, those who hate God, family, free market, and education, misery is a political strategy. And so what we're seeing right now is in the past has worked. We have miserable people and they just lose hope, so they look to the government for help. What the left forgot is that the American people are not there. We're simply without DNA to always want freedom. And when you start pushing us too hard, we're gonna push back. And that's what's happening now. Democrats, independents, and Republicans feeling the same pain. We're pushing back on the hard left, and I tell you, we're going to come out of this in such a great fashion.
I tell you, I haven't been more excited to realize that you'll be the chairman of that subcommittee on K-12 education.
K-12, yes.
That's God,
I'm
boy,
excited about
yeah,
it.
that's
Very
a gift.
excited
Okay, Burgess Owens, thank you for coming in. Congressman Burgess Owens, Utah's 4th District, University of Miami graduate back when they were not quite so strong, but he won a Super Bowl with the Oakland Raiders, and a fearless fighter for both life and conservatism. Thank you for coming to see us again, as always. It's 29th. Phyllis, Schlafly, Collegians Summit. We'll take a break and be back in just a minute again.